Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about Semantic HTML, and let's get started by saying exactly what is Semantic HTML. So if we take a quick look at the semantics section in the MDM web docs, we get a good description, and it defines it by explaining that in HTML, a h1 tag has the role of a top level element. However, it explains that you could style a span, or any other element for that matter, to look like a heading. However, by creating a heading with the actual appropriate h1 tag, when you come back to your code, or if a search engine looks through your code, or if someone else comes to your code, you can tell exactly what that is. You know instantly that that's your heading. You know that your h2 is your subheading, your h3 is the next heading down. You know that a p is a paragraph, etc., etc. So some of these are obvious. Things like h1s, h2s, h3s, h4s, h5s, h6s, they're your headings. Your P's, they are your paragraphs, you know what they are as soon as you see them. ULs for unordered lists, OLs for ordered lists, LIs for list items. Everything has a defined purpose. With HTML, you can find yourself getting into the wrong idea of just creating divs all the time. And divs, although they serve the purpose of splitting up your page, being able to split your code into sections and split things into a presentational form, divs don't have any semantic value other than to be divisions on your page. So what we have these days in HTML is we actually have what's called semantic elements. And as I've already discussed, we had the h1, the h2s, etc. But we now have the idea of semantic elements for your header, your footer, your navigation, and various other parts of your page. So today I'm going to go through a few examples of these, and hopefully give you a better understanding of how you can use Semantic HTML to make your code more readable, more understandable, and more functional in the long run. So to get started, I've created a basic example file. If I force this live, and you can see it's nothing special, but this is the page I've created just to show a basic layout, and this is created solely with divs. So if we go and have a quick look at the code, as you can see here, if I go and search through my divs, I currently have apparently 10 different divs on this page, which isn't a lot to be fair, but imagine building out a massive website and having just div after div after div after div. What is a div in this context? Other than giving it classes and IDs, you are going to struggle to work out which div's which just by looking. So, we're going to go through this document now, and we're going to replace those divs with meaningful semantic tags. So first of all, let's have a look straight to the top where we had our header. So up here we have one header bar that just says Semantic HTML. From there, let's find that up here so we know that that is this one. I've already given it a class of header, but let's actually turn it into a header. So the Semantic HTML element for a header is header. And I'm using auto tag replacement on VS Code, so as I change this tag, it changes the closing tag as well. Then if we move on to the next part, we have a little nav bar. This isn't functional, however it serves the purpose of showing you, so we have a little mini nav bar underneath. So with that, the actual Semantic HTML tag for a navigation bar is nav. And again, it's auto completed for me at the end. What do we have next? We have a couple of columns here. So I have a column for news and a column for upcoming events. However, they're actually contained in another section called content. I'll define this middle area where it's blue as the main area of my page. So I'm actually going to give that a semantic tag of main. That is the correct semantic tag for the main content of your page. And now you'll notice the next things we have are a div with a section for news, a div or a couple of divs with news items, and then the same underneath I've got events, and then within those event items. But we can make this cleaner by making the news section into a section semantic tag. And if we do the same for the events, this becomes a section, because that is logical. In this scenario, we're sectioning out the website. We've got our header, we've got our navigation, we've got our main area, we have sections for different things, and within those sections we have what's called articles. So in my news section I have 2 articles, in my events section I have 2 articles. So let's break these bits where I've got news item, let's change it to article. You'll notice I'm not changing any of the classes or any of these, anything like that, because it doesn't, the semantic tags don't actually change anything on your page. They're just semantic readable tags. There are standard ones, you can't just go in and give any old tag, but these are the functional tags that will help make your code more readable. Obviously in my CSS, if I was referencing an article directly by its tag, then I would have to change that article. So we've changed that to an article. Then I also want to change these two to articles. And one last one, an article. And the one last thing we have, just to clear up the code on our page, is we can go down, and where I've got this very basic footer, as it says, a simple footer, I can just give that a semantic tag of footer. And save all that, and let's go and have another look at the page and refresh. And you'll notice one thing has changed, and that's my fault because of the way I've set up my CSS. I set these boxes that were originally white and all of this content was contained within them, I set those to be styled using the divs, but I've replaced those divs with sections and articles. So let's just go and change the CSS to match. So yes, when I have an article underneath an object with the class of news and an article underneath an object with the class of events, I need it to have this code instead of on the divs. So let's try again now. And there you go, we have what we had before. Everything looks the way it originally did. If we now go and have a look at our code again, and let's see how many divs we actually have now. I actually now have no divs in my page because they've all been replaced with functional semantic tags. So we have a header, we have a nav, we have a main, and in that main we have a section with some articles, and we have another section with some articles, and then we have our footer. Now that is a lot easier to read, that's a lot easier to understand. For you, if you come back to this code, for anyone else who comes to read your code, they can find exactly what they're looking for. If they know they're looking for an article, they know they're looking for a section, that's what they're looking for. They're not going to be searching through div after div after div after div, trying to find the right reference to edit the page, change anything they need to change. And there you have it. A quick example of how Semantic HTML cleans up your code and makes it much more readable. So folks, thanks for watching. That's the end of the video. And as always, don't forget to leave a comment below. Do like, do share, and definitely do subscribe.